You have 58 minutes left, Annie. After that, your brother stops breathing. The voice on the phone was calm, almost bored, like he was ordering coffee instead of destroying my entire world. My hands shook so violently I nearly dropped the small glass vial they'd given me. Clear liquid. Odorless. Deadly. Please, I whispered, my voice cracking. There has to be another way. I can't kill someone. Then Danny dies. Simple choice, really. One man you've never met, or the only family you have left. You're a smart girl, Annie. Do the math. The line went dead. I stood in the restaurant's back hallway, my waitress apron still tied around my waist, my entire body trembling. The vial felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in my palm. Around me, the sounds of the dinner rush continued. Laughter. Clinking glasses. Normal people having normal nights while my world collapsed into impossible choices. Rafael Dario. That was the name they'd given me. Table 7. Reservation at 8. He'd order the special like he always did on Thursdays. All I had to do was add the contents of the vial to his meal before it left the kitchen. One man dies. One brother lives. I'd never even seen Rafael Dario before tonight. Didn't know what he looked like, what he'd done, why these men wanted him dead. All I knew was that 3 days ago, Danny had been grabbed outside his physical therapy appointment. They'd sent me a video of him tied to a chair, terrified. His cerebral palsy making his movements jerky and uncontrolled as he struggled against the ropes. My baby brother. 22 years old. The only person I had left after Mom died 2 years ago. Annie, table 7's order is up. George called from the kitchen window. My heart stopped. I looked at the clock. 17. 55 minutes left. My feet moved on autopilot, carrying me toward the kitchen even though every cell in my body screamed to run. To grab Danny somehow and disappear. But they'd made it clear. They were watching. Always watching. Any deviation from the plan and Danny would pay the price. The plate sat under the heat lamp. Sobbuco. Risotto. Roasted vegetables arranged perfectly. A meal I'd served 100 times before. A meal that was about to become someone's last. My hand moved toward my apron pocket where I'd hidden the vial. You okay? George asked, giving me a concerned look. You look like you're gonna pass out. Fine, I managed, my voice barely audible. Just tired. He nodded and turned back to the grill, giving me a window of privacy. My fingers closed around the vial. 3 seconds. That's all it would take. Uncork it. Pour it over the risotto. The heat would mask any temperature difference. The rich sauce would hide everything. 3 seconds to save Danny's life. 3 seconds to end a stranger's. I pulled the vial out, my vision tunneling until all I could see was that plate and my shaking hand. Every moral fiber I had screamed in protest, but the image of Danny's terrified face drowned out everything else. I was all he had. His big sister. The one who'd raised him after Dad left, who'd worked 3 jobs to keep him in school, who'd held him through every seizure and doctor's appointment and moment of pain. How could I let him die to save a stranger? The vial's cork came loose with a soft pop that sounded like a gunshot in my ears. Order up for table 12, someone shouted, and I flinched so hard I nearly spilled the poison across the counter. Focus. Had to focus. 53 minutes now. I tilted the vial over the risotto, watching that clear liquid catch the kitchen lights. 1 drop. 2 drops. 3. Table 7 is getting impatient, Jessica said, breezing past me with a tray of drinks. That guy doesn't look like someone you want to keep waiting. Corked the vial. Slipped it back in my pocket. Lifted the plate with both hands because I didn't trust myself to hold it steady with one. The weight of what I'd just done hit me like a physical blow, and for a second I thought I really would pass out. A man was about to die because of me. But Danny would live. I pushed through the kitchen doors into the dining room, my legs somehow carrying me forward even though I felt like I was walking through concrete. Table 7. Corner booth. Private. Quiet. The kind of table important people requested. And then I saw him. Rafael Dario sat alone. his posture relaxed but commanding in a way that made everyone else in the room seem smaller by comparison. Dark hair perfectly styled. A black suit that probably cost more than 6 months of my rent. But it was his face that made me freeze mid-step. He was beautiful. Not handsome in a conventional way but striking. Sharp jawline, strong features, and eyes that were currently focused on his phone. Dark and intelligent, and somehow sad in a way I couldn't explain. This was the man I'd just poisoned. He looked up as I approached, and those dark eyes met mine. Something passed between us in that moment. Something electric and terrifying and completely unexpected. He looked at me like he actually saw me, not just a waitress delivering food but a real person. And I was about to kill him. "You're oh so bucco," I said, my voice shaking so badly I knew he had to notice. I set the plate down in front of him, my hands trembling, my heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Thank you," he said, and his voice was deep and smooth and kind. Actually kind. He gave me a small smile. Long night. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. I watched as he picked up his fork, as he cut into the meat with his knife. Watched as he lifted a bite toward his mouth. Risotto and sauce and poison all together. Danny's face flashed through my mind. Danny at 6, learning to walk with his leg braces. Danny at 12, crying because kids at school were cruel. Danny last month, so proud because he'd finally saved enough for a computer programming course that might help him find real work. Raphael's fork moved closer to his lips. One man I didn't know. One brother I'd die for. But as I stood there watching, something inside me shattered. Because Rafael Dario wasn't just a name anymore. He was real. He was a person who said thank you to waitresses and had sad eyes and didn't deserve to die choking on poison because dangerous men had turned me into a weapon. "Don't eat that." The words exploded out of me before I could stop them. My hand shot out and knocked the fork from his grip, sending it clattering across the table. The entire restaurant went silent. Everyone stared. Raphael's eyes locked onto mine, no longer kind but sharp and dangerous and completely focused. "The food," I gasped, tears streaming down my face now. "It's poisoned." "Poisoned it. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. They have my brother and I didn't know what else to do but I can't. Can't let you die. I can't." 2 men in dark suits appeared from nowhere, flanking the table, their hands moving inside their jackets. Raphael held up one hand, stopping them. His eyes never leaving my face. "Explain," he said quietly, and somehow that single word was more terrifying than any threat. "Now." So I did. The words poured out in a terrified rush. Phone call. The video of Danny. The vial. The impossible choice. I told him everything while my career ended, my life ended. Any chance of saving Danny evaporated into nothing. When I finished, the silence was deafening. Raphael stood slowly, his full height towering over me. He reached out and I flinched, expecting violence. But his fingers were gentle as they tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his eyes. "Your brother's name is Danny," he said. Not a question. A statement. I nodded, unable to speak past the sob caught in my throat. "Where are they holding him?" "I don't know. They didn't tell me. They just said. They said if I didn't do this, he'd die." Fresh tears spilled over. "And now I didn't do it, so he's going to die anyway and you're going to kill me and I just couldn't." I looked at you and I couldn't. Something flickered in Raphael's dark eyes. Something I couldn't read. "George," he called, not loudly but his voice carried. The kitchen manager appeared instantly, his face pale. "Close the restaurant. Everyone out. Now." As staff and customers scrambled to leave, Raphael's attention returned to me. "The vial," he said. "Give it to me." With shaking hands, I pulled it from my pocket. He took it carefully, held it up to the light, and his jaw tightened. "Ricin derivative," he said softly. "Painful. Low. Someone wanted me to suffer." He looked at me again. "And they were willing to sacrifice an innocent waitress and her brother to make it happen." "I'm sorry," I whispered again. "I'm so sorry." Stop apologizing. His voice was firm but not cruel. You're a victim here, not a villain. He pulled out his phone, pressed a single button. Vincent. I need a trace on a kidnapping. Male, early 20s, cerebral palsy, name Danny Jason. Taken 3 days ago, likely held within 50 miles. Find him. Now. He ended the call and looked at me. Sit down before you fall down, he said, and gently pushed me into the booth opposite his poisoned meal. I sat because my legs had finally given up. My mind couldn't process what was happening. He was helping me. After I'd tried to kill him. Why? I managed to ask. Why aren't you? Killing you? Raphael finished. He sat down across from me, and even now, even in this moment of chaos, I felt that same electric pull toward him. Because you just saved my life, Annie. You could have stayed silent. Me. Saved your brother and walked away. But you didn't. I couldn't, I whispered. I know. His eyes held mine, and I saw something in them that made my breath catch. Respect. Understanding. Something deeper I was too terrified to name. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. His phone rang. He answered immediately. Talk to me. You're certain? Another pause, and his expression darkened into something truly dangerous. Elio. Of course it's Elio. He ended the call and stood. They found Danny, he said. He's alive. Scared but unharmed. My men are moving in now. Relief hit me so hard I actually sobbed, dropping my head into my hands as 3 days of terror finally broke through. Danny was alive. Alive. I felt Raphael's hand on my shoulder, warm and solid and steadying. Come with me, he said quietly. I looked up at him through tears. Where? Somewhere safe. Because the man who ordered this, who threatened your brother and turned you into a weapon. His eyes went cold in a way that sent shivers down my spine. He's someone I trusted, someone close to me. And when he realizes his plan failed, he'll come for you to tie up loose ends. Fear spiked through me again. My brother is already being moved to a secure location. You'll see him within the hour. But right now, Annie, your life is in immediate danger. So I'm going to ask you to do something that probably seems insane. He extended his hand to me. Trust me. I stared at his hand. This man I'd tried to poison. This stranger who had every reason to want me dead. This mafia boss whose dark eyes somehow made me feel safer than I'd felt in days. I took his hand. His fingers closed around mine, strong and warm, and as he pulled me to my feet, I felt my entire world shift on its axis. I didn't know it yet, but in that moment everything changed. Not just my life. My heart. Hey there, my wonderful friend. How's your day going? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story so far. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Raphael led me toward the back exit where 2 black cars waited, engines running. The night air hit my face, cool and sharp, grounding me back in reality. This was really happening. I just confessed to attempted murder, and instead of ending up dead in an alley, I was being protected by the very man I'd tried to kill. As we reached the first car, Raphael's phone buzzed again. He checked it, and his expression hardened into something truly lethal. What is it? Yes. Confirmation, he said quietly. Elio Salvatore, my second in command. The man I trusted with everything. He looked at me, and I saw betrayal and rage warring in his dark eyes. He's the one who orchestrated all of this. Before I could respond, the car door opened, and Raphael guided me inside with a gentle hand on my lower back. He slid in beside me, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Something expensive and woodsy that made my traitorous heart skip despite everything. Where are we going? I asked as the car pulled away from the restaurant. My private residence. It's the most secure location I have. He turned to face me fully, and in the dim interior lighting, his features looked softer, almost vulnerable. I know you're scared. I know you have no reason to trust me. But I give you my word, Annie. No harm will come to you or Danny. Not while I'm breathing. And looking into his eyes, seeing the absolute conviction there, I realized something terrifying. I believed him. The house wasn't what I expected. No gold chandeliers or marble statues. Just clean lines, warm lighting, and windows that overlooked a private garden. Felt like a home, not a fortress. Annie! I turned just as Danny came through the doorway, flanked by a tall man in a dark suit. My brother's face was tear-streaked. His gait unsteady as always, but he was alive and whole and real. I ran to him, catching him in my arms as we both collapsed into sobs. "I'm sorry," Danny kept saying. "I'm so sorry, they grabbed me and I couldn't fight them and I was so scared." "Shoo. It's okay. You're safe now." "We're both safe." Over Danny's shoulder, I saw Raphael watching us with an unreadable expression. He nodded once, then quietly left the room, giving us privacy. 20 minutes later, after Danny had been settled in a guest room with food and a promise that he could sleep without fear, I found Raphael in his study. He stood by the window, a glass of whiskey in his hand, staring out at the darkness. "Thank you," I said from the doorway. "For saving him. For all of this." He turned, and the sadness I'd seen in the restaurant was back in his eyes. "Don't thank me yet. This situation is far from over." "What do you mean?" He gestured for me to sit, then took the chair across from me instead of staying behind his desk. Cool footing. Struck me as deliberate. "Elio Salvatore has been my right hand for 8 years, Raphael said quietly. "I trusted him completely. And according to the intel my men just gathered, he's been planning this betrayal for at least 6 months. Why? Power. It always comes down to power." Raphael's jaw tightened. He wanted my position, my territory, everything I built. And he was willing to kill me and sacrifice innocent people to get it. The weight of how close we'd both come to death settled over the room. "What happens now?" "Yes. Now I deal with Elio. And you and Danny stay here under protection until it's safe. We can't just hide in your house." "Yes, you can. And you will." His voice was firm but not unkind. "Elio knows you failed to poison me. That makes you a loose end he'll want to eliminate. I won't let that happen." The way he said it, with such absolute conviction, sent warmth through my chest that had nothing to do with safety and everything to do with the man himself. "I don't understand you," I admitted. "I tried to kill you. Most people would want revenge." Raphael leaned forward, his dark eyes intense. "You were put in an impossible situation and you still chose honesty over survival. That kind of integrity is rare in my world, Annie. Rare anywhere." He paused. "You could have let me die. But you really looked at me and saw a person worth saving. Do you know how long it's been since someone saw me as anything other than a title or a threat?" The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open inside me. "I saw your eyes," I whispered. "And I couldn't." "I know." His gaze held mine. "I saw yours too." The air between us felt charged, electric, impossible to ignore. I should have been terrified of this man. Instead, I felt drawn to him like gravity. The study door opened, and a muscular man with graying hair stepped in. "Boss, we have a problem." Raphael's expression shifted instantly back to controlled and dangerous. "Vincent. Report." Elio's moved up his timeline. "He's calling a meeting of the family heads tomorrow night. He's going to claim you've gone unstable, that you're a liability." Vincent's eyes flicked to me briefly. "And he's telling people you've become compromised by a woman." Raphael stood slowly, his entire demeanor changing into something cold and calculating. "Let him call his meeting. I'll be there." "It could be a trap," Vincent warned. "It's definitely a trap. But Elio's mistake is thinking I don't already know that." Raphael looked at me. "Vincent will stay here tonight. Extra security on all entry points. No one gets near Annie or her brother." "You're leaving?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. His expression softened slightly. Just for a few hours. I need to make arrangements. I'll be back before morning. He moved toward the door, but I stood quickly, my hand catching his arm without thinking. He stopped instantly, looking down at where my fingers touched his sleeve. Be careful, I said. Please. Something flickered in his eyes. Something that made my heart race. Careful isn't usually my style, he said quietly. But for you I'll try. Then he was gone, and I was left standing in his study with Vincent, my hand still warm from where I'd touched Raphael's arm. He's different with you, Vincent said, startling me. The older man's face was unreadable. In 8 years, I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. We just met, I protested weakly. Doesn't matter. Some things you just know. Vincent moved toward the door. Guest room is upstairs, second on the left. You should rest. Tomorrow's going to be complicated. After he left, I stood alone in Raphael's study, surrounded by his books and his space and his scent still lingering in the air. What was happening to me? 24 hours ago, I was just a waitress trying to survive. Now I was under the protection of a mafia boss who made my pulse race with just a look. A man I'd tried to poison. A man who should terrify me but instead made me feel safer than I'd felt in years. I went upstairs and checked on Danny. He was asleep, finally peaceful. I kissed his forehead and whispered another silent thank you to Raphael. In the guest room, I lay awake on sheets that were softer than anything I'd ever owned, staring at the ceiling. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. You made a mistake tonight, little waitress. Raphael can't protect you forever. When he falls, and he will fall, you'll fall with him. Sweet dreams. The message was from Elio. Had to be. My hands shook as I forwarded it to the number Raphael had given me for emergencies. His response came within seconds. I'm coming back. Lock your door. Vincent is right outside. You're safe. I promise. 20 minutes later I heard the front door open. Quiet voices. Then footsteps on the stairs. Soft knock on my door. Annie, it's me. I opened the door to find Raphael still in his suit but with his tie loosened. His hair slightly mussed like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked dangerous and worried and unfairly attractive all at once. You came back, I said. I told you I would. He held up his phone showing Elio's threat. He's trying to scare you. It won't work because I won't let him near you. You can't watch me every second. Watch me try. There was no humor in his voice, just raw determination. We stood there in my doorway, the late hour making everything feel more intimate than it should. His eyes searched my face like he was memorizing it. I should let you sleep, he said, but he didn't move. Raphael, I said quietly. Why does this feel like more than just protection? His jaw tightened. For a long moment he didn't answer. Because it is more. And that terrifies me more than any threat Elio could make. Before I could respond he stepped back. Good night, Annie. I'll be right downstairs if you need anything. He walked away and I closed the door, my heart pounding. I'd known this man for hours. But already he was becoming something I couldn't define. Something essential. Something dangerous in ways that had nothing to do with the mafia and everything to do with my heart. Morning came with Vincent knocking on my door. Boss wants to see you. Downstairs. I found Raphael in the kitchen, surprisingly domestic in dark jeans and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up. He was making coffee, and the sight of him in something so normal made my chest ache. Sleep okay? He asked, handing me a mug. Not really. You never do. He leaned against the counter, watching me. I need to tell you what's happening tonight. I sat at the kitchen island, wrapping my hands around the warm mug. Elio's meeting is at 8. I'm going to confront him in front of the other family heads. Expose what he's done. It's the only way to end this cleanly. And if they don't believe you, then things get messy. His expression darkened. Which is why I need you to promise me something. If anything happens to me tonight, Vincent will take you and Danny to a safe house out of state. New identities. New life. Everything arranged. I stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. No. You don't get to save my life and then talk about dying. Annie. No. I moved closer to him, my heart racing. You made me a promise. You said no harm would come to us while you were breathing. So you better keep breathing, Raphael. Something intense flashed in his eyes. He reached out slowly, giving me time to move away, and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His fingers lingered against my cheek. You're making this very difficult, he said quietly. Making what difficult? Keeping my distance. Staying professional. Remembering all the reasons this is a terrible idea. My breath caught. This. You know what I mean. Don't pretend you don't feel it too. He was right. I did feel it. This impossible pull between us that made no logical sense but felt more real than anything I'd experienced. I've known you for less than 24 hours, I whispered. I know. Doesn't change anything. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. I looked at you last night in that restaurant and something just clicked. Like recognition. Like I'd been waiting for you without knowing it. That's crazy. Probably. His lips quirked into an almost smile. My life is already crazy. What's one more impossible thing? I should have stepped back. Should have remembered who he was, what his world contained, how dangerous this all was. Instead, I leaned into his touch. I'm terrified, I admitted. Of me. Of how much I already care whether you come back tonight. Raphael's eyes darkened with something that made heat pool in my stomach. He leaned closer, his forehead almost touching mine. Annie, I need you to understand something. My world is violence and betrayal and darkness. You're the first light I've seen in years. But bringing you into this life, even temporarily, it's selfish. You deserve better than. Kissed him. I didn't plan it, didn't think it through. I just rose on my toes and pressed my lips to his, cutting off his self-deprecation with action instead of words. For one heartbeat, he went completely still. Then his arms came around me, pulling me close as he kissed me back with an intensity that stole my breath. His lips were firm and warm and perfect. One hand tangled in my hair while the other pressed against the small of my back, holding me against him like I was precious, like I was his. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes were nearly black with desire. That was, he started. A terrible idea. Finished. The best terrible idea I've ever experienced. He kissed me again, softer this time. Tender. But it doesn't change tonight. I still have to face Elio. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. Raphael, he used me to get to you. I deserve to face him too. It's too dangerous. My whole life became dangerous the moment they grabbed Danny. At least let me stand beside you when you end this. He studied my face for a long moment, and I saw the war happening behind his eyes. Protection versus respect. Safety versus partnership. If I let you come, you stay by my side every second. Vincent and 3 other guards around you at all times. And if I say run, you run. No arguments. Deal. Deal. He pulled me close again, resting his chin on top of my head. You're going to be the death of me, Annie Jason. Not if I can help it. The rest of the day passed in tense preparation. Raphael made calls, gave orders, planned strategy. I spent time with Danny, who seemed better after a full night's sleep and real food. I like him, Danny said, watching through the window as Raphael talked with his men outside. He's scary, but he looks at you like you're important. We barely know each other, Danny. So, Mom always said when you know. She knew with Dad after 2 days. And look how that turned out. Yeah, but she always said those 2 days were worth it. That having us was worth it. Danny looked at me seriously, more grown up than his 22 years. You spend so much time taking care of me, Annie. Maybe it's okay to let someone take care of you for once. I hugged him tight, blinking back tears. By 7:30, I was dressed in simple black pants and a dark sweater that one of Raphael's staff had brought. Nothing fancy. Nothing that screamed Target. Raphael appeared in my doorway in a full black suit, and my mouth went dry. He looked every inch the powerful boss he was. Dangerous, commanding, untouchable, until his eyes landed on me and softened just slightly. "Ready?" he asked. "No. But let's do this anyway." He held out his hand. Took it. In the car, surrounded by security, Raphael kept my hand in his thumb tracing patterns on my palm. "Whatever happens tonight," he said quietly, "I want you to know that meeting you, even under these circumstances, it's been the best thing to happen to me in longer than I can remember. Don't talk like you're saying goodbye." "I'm not. I'm saying hello. Possibility. To something real." He lifted my hand and kissed my knuckles. "To you." The car pulled up to a warehouse on the outskirts of the city. Expensive cars lined the street. Men in suits stood guard at every entrance. This was Raphael's world. Power and danger and calculated moves. And I was about to walk into the heart of it. Vincent opened our door. Raphael stepped out first, then helped me out, keeping me close to his side. Every eye turned to us. Whispers started immediately. Raphael's hand pressed against my lower back as we walked inside. A possessive gesture that sent clear messages to everyone watching. The warehouse had been converted into a meeting space. A large round table. Chairs filled with older men who radiated authority and threat. And at the far end, standing with a confident smile that made my skin crawl, was Elio Salvatore. He was handsome in a polished way. Slick back hair. Perfect suit. Cold eyes that landed on me with recognition and contempt. "Raphael," he said smoothly. "And you brought the waitress. How? Unexpected." Raphael's entire demeanor shifted into something lethal and controlled. "Elio, we need to talk about your recent activities. All of us." He addressed the room. About betrayal, attempted murder, and the kidnapping of innocent civilians. Elio's smile never wavered. "Bold accusations. Do you have proof or just paranoia?" Raphael pulled out his phone and projected images onto the warehouse wall. Text messages. Financial transfers. Photos of the men who'd grabbed Danny. And finally a recording. Elio's voice filled the room. "I don't care what you have to do. Kill Raphael and make it look clean. Use the girl. She's expendable." The room went silent. Elio's smile finally dropped. His hand moved inside his jacket. Everything happened at once. Raphael pushed me behind him. Guards drew weapons. Elio pulled a gun. "You think you've won?" Elio snarled. "You're weak, Raphael. Compromised by a woman you've known for a day. The families need real leadership. The families need loyalty," Raphael said coldly. "Something you know nothing about." Elio raised his gun, but he didn't point it at Raphael. He pointed it at me. "Let's test that softness," Elio said. "Your empire or the girl. Choose." Raphael's entire body went rigid. I felt the tension radiating off him in waves. "There's no choice," Raphael said quietly. Dangerously. "You threaten her, you die. Simple. Then we both know how this ends." Time seemed to slow. Elio's finger moved toward the trigger. Raphael started to draw his own weapon. I saw my death in Elio's eyes. A shot rang out, but I felt no pain. Elio dropped, his gun clattering to the floor, a red stain blooming on his shoulder. Behind him stood an older man with gray hair and a smoking gun. "Enough," the older man said. "Elio Salvatore, you've been found guilty of betrayal by your own recorded words. Take him." Guards moved in, securing Elio as he screamed threats and curses. Raphael immediately turned to me. His hands on my face, my arms, checking for injuries. "Are you hurt?" "Annie, look at me. Are you hurt?" "I'm fine. I'm okay." My voice shook, but I was intact. He pulled me against his chest, his heart hammering against my ear. Around us, the meeting dissolved into business, but Raphael held me like I was the only thing that mattered. "I almost lost you," he said against my hair. "I almost. But you didn't. I'm right here." He pulled back enough to look at me, and the raw emotion in his eyes stole my breath. "I love you," he said. "I know it's insane. I know it's too fast. But I've never been more certain of anything. I love you, Annie." Tears spilled down my cheeks. "That's completely crazy." "I know. We barely know each other." "I know. I love you too." His smile was like sunrise, beautiful and rare and worth everything. He kissed me there in the warehouse, surrounded by Mafia bosses and danger and his entire world, and nothing had ever felt more right. The next 2 weeks felt like a dream I was terrified to wake from. Elio was in custody, facing charges from multiple families. Danny was safe, attending his online classes from Raphael's secure guest room. And I was falling deeper in love with a man I still barely knew but somehow understood completely. Raphael's world was dangerous, yes. But with me he was different. Gentle. Open. Real. "Tell me something nobody knows about you," I said one night as we sat in his garden under the stars. His arm was around me, my head on his shoulder, and everything felt perfect. "I wanted to be a teacher," he admitted quietly. "Before my father died and I inherited all of this. I wanted to teach literature. Live a quiet life. You still could. No, this life doesn't let you leave. You know that." I did know that. But lying there with him I didn't care. I'd choose him and all his complications over a safe, empty life any day. "Move in with me," he said suddenly. "You and Danny. Not as protection anymore. Family. As mine." My heart soared and crashed simultaneously. "Raphael, it's too fast." "I don't care about fast or slow. Care about you. About waking up with you. Coming home to you." He turned to face me fully. "I know what I want, Annie. The question is, do you?" "Yes," I whispered. "God help me, yes." His kiss was deep and claiming and full of promise. But the perfect moment shattered when Vincent appeared. His face grim. "Boss, we have a situation." Raphael's expression shifted instantly. "Talk." "Elio made bail 2 hours ago. We don't know how. Someone powerful backed him." As flooded my veins. Raphael stood, pulling me up with him, his hand tight around mine. Full lockdown. Double security on Danny and Annie. Over the next 3 days, tension mounted. Elio was out there somewhere, plotting, waiting. Raphael barely slept, coordinating security, tracking leads, becoming more and more withdrawn. "Talk to me," I begged on the 4th night, finding him in his study at 2 in the morning. "I can't protect you if I'm distracted," he said without looking up from his laptop. "And you're the biggest distraction I've ever had." The word stung. "So I'm a liability now?" "You're everything. That's the problem." He finally looked at me, and the torment in his eyes broke my heart. "Elio knows exactly how to hurt me now. He'll use you. And I can't." "Can't what?" "Love me and keep me safe. You don't get to push me away because you're scared, Raphael." "I'm not scared. I'm terrified." He stood abruptly. "Every second you're in my life, you're in danger. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe you and Danny should take that safe house offer. Disappear. Be free of all this." Anger flared hot in my chest. "You said you loved me." "I do. That's why I'm saying this." "No. You're saying this because you're used to controlling everything, and love can't be controlled. It's messy and scary and you don't get guarantees." I moved closer to him. "But I'm not going anywhere. So either trust me to make my own choices or admit you're just scared of actually being happy." His jaw clenched. "Annie." My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My hands shook as I opened the message. A photo of Danny. Asleep in his room. From an angle that meant someone was inside the house. Right now. "Raphael." I breathed, showing him the screen. His face went white, then deadly calm. He pressed a button on his desk. Vincent, Danny's room. Now. We ran through the hallways, Raphael keeping me behind him. Other guards converged from all directions. Vincent threw open Danny's door. The room was empty. Window open. Curtains blowing in the night breeze. Danny was gone. I screamed, my legs giving out. Raphael caught me. His own face a mask of fury and guilt. "Find him," Raphael commanded, his voice like steel. "Tear this city apart. Find him now." Vincent hesitated. "Boss, there's something else." The guard stationed outside this room. It was Eric. "Eric has been with me for 5 years. I know. And he's gone too." The betrayal hit like a physical blow. Someone inside Raphael's trusted circle had taken my brother. My phone buzzed again. A video this time. Danny tied to a chair in some dark room, terrified but alive. Then Elio's face filled the screen. "Hello, lovers. Here's the deal. Raphael, you have 24 hours to turn over your entire operation to me. Every business, every territory, every asset. Sign it all over legally and publicly. Do that and the boy lives. Refuse, and I'll send him back to his sister in pieces." The video ended with Elio's cold smile. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. This was my worst nightmare. Raphael's arms came around me, holding me as I shattered. "I'll give him everything," Raphael said quietly. "I don't care about any of it. I'll give him the whole empire if it means Danny lives. He'll kill you the moment you sign. Probably. But Danny will be safe. That's what matters." I pulled back to look at him, tears streaming down my face. "No. I can't lose both of you. There has to be another way." "There isn't. Not one that guarantees Danny's safety." Raphael cupped my face gently. "I told you. You're everything to me. That includes your brother. I'll trade my whole world for his life without hesitation. Raphael, please. This is my fault. I brought you into this. I made you a target. Let me fix it." Vincent cleared his throat. "Boss, there might be another option. It's risky. Really risky. But if it works, we get Danny back and end Elio permanently." Raphael's eyes sharpened. "I'm listening." As Vincent laid out a dangerous, nearly impossible plan, I realized something. This was Raphael's world. Calculated risks. Life or death stakes. Sacrifice and strategy. And I just stepped fully into it, no going back. "I'm part of this plan," I said firmly when Vincent finished. "Whatever it is, I'm in." "Absolutely not," Raphael said immediately. "It's my brother. My choice. You don't get to sideline me. Annie, if anything happens to you, then we fail together." I took his hand. "But I believe in you. In us. So let's go get Danny back." Raphael looked at me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Together," he agreed. But neither of us saw the real betrayal coming. The one that would change everything. Because as we planned through the night, as Raphael's most trusted people gathered to coordinate the rescue, one of them was already texting Elio every single detail. And we wouldn't discover who until it was almost too late. The next 2 weeks felt like a dream I was terrified to wake from. Elio was in custody, facing charges from multiple families. Danny was safe, attending his online classes from Raphael's secure guest room. And I was falling deeper in love with a man I still barely knew but somehow understood completely. Raphael's world was dangerous, yes. But with me he was different. Gentle. Real. "Tell me something nobody knows about you," I said one night as we sat in his garden under the stars. His arm was around me, my head on his shoulder, and everything felt perfect. "I wanted to be a teacher," he admitted quietly. "Before my father died and I inherited all of this. I wanted to teach literature. Live a quiet life. You still could. No, this life doesn't let you leave. You know that." I did know that. But lying there with him, I didn't care. I'd choose him and all his complications over a safe, empty life any day. "Move in with me," he said suddenly. "You and Danny. Not as protection anymore. Family." as mine. My heart soared and crashed simultaneously. Raphael, it's too fast. I don't care about fast or slow. Care about you. About waking up with you. Coming home to you. He turned to face me fully. I know what I want, Annie. The question is, do you? Yes, I whispered. God help me, yes. His kiss was deep and claiming and full of promise. But the perfect moment shattered when Vincent appeared. His face grim. Boss, we have a situation. Raphael's expression shifted instantly. Talk. Elio made bail 2 hours ago. We don't know how. Someone powerful backed him. As flooded my veins. Raphael stood, pulling me up with him, his hand tight around mine. Full lockdown. Double security on Danny and Annie. Over the next 3 days, tension mounted. Elio was out there somewhere, plotting. Waiting. Raphael barely slept, coordinating security, tracking leads, becoming more and more withdrawn. Talk to me, I begged on the 4th night, finding him in his study at 2 in the morning. I can't protect you if I'm distracted, he said without looking up from his laptop. And you're the biggest distraction I've ever had. The word stung. So I'm a liability now. You're everything. That's the problem. He finally looked at me, and the torment in his eyes broke my heart. Elio knows exactly how to hurt me now. He'll use you. And I can't. Can't what? Love me and keep me safe. You don't get to push me away because you're scared, Raphael. I'm not scared. I'm terrified. He stood abruptly. Every second you're in my life, you're in danger. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe you and Danny should take that safe house offer. Disappear. Be free of all this. Anger flared hot in my chest. You said you loved me. I do. That's why I'm saying this. No. You're saying this because you're used to controlling everything, and love can't be controlled. It's messy and scary and you don't get guarantees. I moved closer to him. But I'm not going anywhere. So either trust me to make my own choices or admit you're just scared of actually being happy. His jaw clenched. Annie! My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My hands shook as I opened the message. A photo of Danny. Asleep in his room. From an angle that meant someone was inside the house. Right now. Raphael. I breathed, showing him the screen. His face went white, then deadly calm. He pressed a button on his desk. Vincent, Danny's room. Now. We ran through the hallways, Raphael keeping me behind him. Other guards converged from all directions. Vincent threw open Danny's door. The room was empty. Window open. Curtains blowing in the night breeze. Danny was gone. I screamed, my legs giving out. Raphael caught me. His own face a mask of fury and guilt. Find him, Raphael commanded. His voice like steel. Tear this city apart. Find him now. Vincent hesitated. Boss, there's something else. The guard stationed outside this room. It was Eric. Eric has been with me for 5 years. I know. And he's gone too. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. Someone inside Raphael's trusted circle had taken my brother. My phone buzzed again. A video this time. Danny tied to a chair in some dark room, terrified but alive. Then Elio's face filled the screen. Hello, lovers. Here's the deal. Raphael, you have 24 hours to turn over your entire operation to me. Every business, every territory, every asset. Sign it all over legally and publicly. Do that and the boy lives. Refuse, and I'll send him back to his sister in pieces. The video ended with Elio's cold smile. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. This was my worst nightmare. Raphael's arms came around me, holding me as I shattered. I'll give him everything, Raphael said quietly. I don't care about any of it. I'll give him the whole empire if it means Danny lives. He'll kill you the moment you sign. Probably. But Danny will be safe. That's what matters. I pulled back to look at him, tears streaming down my face. No. I can't lose both of you. There has to be another way. There isn't. Not one that guarantees Danny's safety. Raphael cupped my face gently. I told you. You're everything to me. That includes your brother. I'll trade my whole world for his life without hesitation. Raphael, please. This is my fault. I brought you into this. I made you a target. Let me fix it. Vincent cleared his throat. Boss, there might be another option. It's risky. Really risky. But if it works, we get Danny back and end Elio permanently. Raphael's eyes sharpened. I'm listening. As Vincent laid out a dangerous, nearly impossible plan, I realized something. This was Raphael's world. Calculated risks, life or death stakes, sacrifice and strategy. And I just stepped fully into it, no going back. I'm part of this plan, I said firmly when Vincent finished. Whatever it is, I'm in. Absolutely not, Raphael said immediately. It's my brother. My choice. You don't get to sideline me. Annie, if anything happens to you, then we fail together. I took his hand. But I believe in you. In us. So let's go get Danny back. Raphael looked at me for a long moment. Then nodded slowly. Together, he agreed. But neither of us saw the real betrayal coming. The one that would change everything. Because as we planned through the night, as Raphael's most trusted people gathered to coordinate the rescue, one of them was already texting Elio every single detail. And we wouldn't discover who until it was almost too late. Raphael woke 3 days later. His eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then finding me in the chair beside his bed. I hadn't left except for brief bathroom breaks. Danny brought me food I barely touched. Agent Morrison came with updates I barely heard. All that mattered was Raphael breathing. Annie, he rasped. His voice rough from the breathing tube they'd removed that morning. I was at his side instantly, my hand covering his. I'm here. You're okay. You're going to be okay. Danny. Safe. Completely safe. He's down in the cafeteria. Relief flooded his face. Then pain as he tried to shift. Don't move. You were shot, you idiot. You jumped in front of a bullet. Would do it again. His eyes locked on mine. 1,000 times over. Tears spilled down my cheeks. You could have died. Better me than you. His thumb brushed weakly across my knuckles. Always better me than you. I wanted to be angry at his sacrifice, but looking at his pale face, the monitors tracking his fragile recovery, I could only feel grateful he was alive. Agent Morrison told me what you did. That you'd been working with the FBI. That you gave up everything. Raphael's jaw tightened. Had to. Was the only way to guarantee your safety. Elio would have never stopped coming for you otherwise. But your entire organization is gone. Dismantled. My assets frozen pending investigation. My reputation destroyed. He looked away from me. I have nothing left to offer you, Annie. No protection. No money. No power. Just a man with enemies and a target on his back. The defeat in his voice broke my heart. Look at me. I waited until his dark eyes met mine. I never wanted your money or your power. I wanted you. Just you. I'm nobody now. You're everything to me. Don't you get that? He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. I killed people, Annie. Before all this. Before you. I made choices that haunt me. Built an empire on fear and violence. That blood doesn't wash off just because I helped the FBI. I know who you were. I'm choosing who you are now. And who am I now? A man with nothing. No future. No plan. I squeezed his hand. You're a man who saved my brother. Who sacrificed everything for love. Who gets a second chance to be whoever he wants to be. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. I leaned closer. You wanted to be a teacher once. You told me that. So be one. Or be something else entirely. But be alive, Raphael. Be free. Be mine. A tear slid down his cheek. In all the danger and chaos, I'd never seen him cry. But now, stripped of his armor and his empire, he was finally vulnerable enough to let me see his pain. "I'm scared," he admitted in a whisper. "I've run an organization since I was 24. I don't know how to be anything else. Then we'll figure it out together. One day at a time." "You're really staying? Did you think a little thing like you destroying your entire criminal empire would scare me off?" I managed a weak smile. "I've come this far. I'm not going anywhere." He pulled my hand to his lips, kissing my knuckles despite the pain it clearly caused him to move. "I don't deserve you." "Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway." Over the next week, reality settled in heavy and hard. The FBI wanted Raphael's testimony against remaining members of Elio's network. There would be trials, protective custody, a target on his back for years from people seeking revenge. His former associates had scattered. Some were arrested, others disappeared. The empire he'd built crumbled to dust in days. And Raphael had to watch it all from a hospital bed, growing stronger physically but struggling mentally with who he was without his power. I saw him staring out the window one afternoon, his expression lost. "Talk to me," I said softly. "I keep thinking about all the choices I made, people I hurt, lines I crossed." He looked at me. "How do I move forward carrying all of that?" "You carry it. You don't forget it. But you don't let it define your future either." Easy to say. I didn't say it was easy. I said it was possible. I sat on the edge of his bed carefully. "You can't change the past, Raphael. None of us can. But you can choose what comes next. And what if I choose wrong again? Then I'll be there to help you choose better the next time. That's what love is. Not perfection. Just showing up. Again and again." He reached for my hand, holding it like a lifeline. "I want a quiet life with you," he said. "No danger. No looking over our shoulders. Just normal." Is that even possible anymore? Agent Morrison said witness protection is an option. New identities. New city. Fresh start. You'd do that. Leave everything you know. I thought about my tiny apartment, my waitressing job, the life I'd been living before all this. I don't have much to leave behind. But I'd have you. And Danny. That's everything. Raphael's eyes searched mine. "You're sure? Once we do this, there's no going back." "I've never been more sure of anything." He pulled me down gently, kissing me with a tenderness that made my heart ache. When we broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. "Then let's do it. Let's disappear. Build something real. Something good. Together," I promised. Together. Danny visited that evening, his face brighter than I'd seen it in weeks. "The FBI said they can help me finish my degree," he told us excitedly. "Wherever we end up, they'll set up everything. I could actually graduate. Maybe even get a real job." Raphael smiled, genuine warmth in his expression. "You're brilliant, Danny. Any company would be lucky to have you." "Because of you," Danny said seriously. "You saved my life. Gave us both a future. I won't forget that." "Your family," Raphael said simply. "That's what family does." Watching them together, I felt hope bloom in my chest for the first time since the shooting. We'd lost so much, but we'd gained something precious. Something worth fighting for. Each other. Agent Morrison came the next day with papers. New identities. A small town in Oregon. A house already arranged. Jobs lined up. Complete fresh start. "You'll be Michael, Sarah, and David Vance," Morrison explained. "Backstory is your siblings relocating for work. We've created full histories. Documents. Everything you need." Raphael stared at the papers. "Michael Vance. No more Raphael Dario. That man is dead," Morrison said bluntly. "For your safety and theirs, he has to stay dead. Can you do that?" Raphael looked at me, at Danny, then back at the agent. "Yes, I can do that." Because the man he'd been, the empire he'd built, the power he'd wielded. None of it mattered anymore. What mattered was the woman holding his hand and the chance to become someone worthy of her love. The cost had been everything. But looking at our future spread out in false documents and new names, Raphael realized he'd actually gained more than he'd lost. He'd gained himself back. We had 48 hours before the FBI moved us to Oregon. 48 hours to say goodbye to our old lives and step into new ones. Raphael was released from the hospital on day 1. He moved carefully, still healing but stronger. We went to my tiny apartment so I could pack the few things I wanted to keep. Photos of Mom. Danny's childhood drawings. Small memories of a life that was ending. Raphael stood by the window, looking out at the street below with the watchful tension of a man who'd spent years expecting threats. "You can relax," I said gently. "Elio's in prison. Vincent too. It's over." "Old habits," he murmured. Then his body went rigid. "Annie, get away from the window. Now." The urgency in his voice sent ice through my veins. I moved instantly. "What is it?" "Black sedan. 2 men inside. They've been circling the block for 10 minutes. His jaw clenched. "Someone knows we're here." He pulled out the phone Agent Morrison had given him, dialing quickly. "We've got a problem. Possible tail on Annie's apartment." He listened, his face darkening. "Understood. We're moving now." He hung up and turned to me. "We need to leave. The FBI is sending backup, but we can't wait. Who would know we're here? Anyone with enough money to buy information from the wrong people." He grabbed my half-packed bag. "I made a lot of enemies, Annie. Not all of them are locked up." We made it to the stairwell before we heard footsteps below. Heavy, purposeful, coming up fast. Raphael grabbed my hand and pulled me upward instead. "Roof. Go." We climbed 4 flights, my heart hammering. Behind us, the footsteps quickened. Raphael pushed open the roof door and pulled me through, scanning our surroundings. "There," he said, pointing to the adjacent building. 3-foot gap between rooftops. "Can you jump that? Are you insane? You were shot 2 weeks ago." "I'll make it. You first. Run and jump. I'll be right behind you." The roof door below us slammed open. I ran and jumped, my stomach dropping during that brief moment of flight before I landed hard on the other roof. I turned back to see Raphael facing 2 large men who'd emerged from the stairwell. "Raphael Dario," one of them said. "You're a hard man to kill." "Who sent you?" Raphael asked calmly, despite having no weapon, no backup, and a barely healed gunshot wound. "Does it matter? You betrayed the families. Worked with the feds. That has consequences." The man drew a gun. Raphael moved. Even injured, his training kicked in. He grabbed the man's wrist, twisted, used his momentum against him. The gun fired into the air as both men grappled. The second man moved toward them, but I screamed, "Raphael, behind you!" Raphael ducked, and the second man's punch hit the first instead. In the chaos, Raphael grabbed the dropped gun and pointed it at both men. "Stop. Now." They froze. "Here's what's going to happen," Raphael said. His voice deadly calm despite his heavy breathing. "You're going to tell me who sent you. Then you're going to leave and tell them that Raphael Dario is dead. That you finished the job. Can you do that? And why would we lie for you? Because I'm giving you a chance to walk away. Most people don't get that from me. Take it." The men exchanged glances. One nodded slowly. "Luca Moretti sent us. Said you needed to pay for what you did to the organization. Tell Luca he can have the organization. All of it. I'm out. Completely out. Not a threat to anyone anymore." "He won't believe that." "Then make him believe it." Raphael's finger moved closer to the trigger. "Or I can send a more permanent message. Your choice." The first man held up his hands. "We'll deliver the message. You have my word. Get out of here." They backed toward the stairwell, then disappeared. Raphael immediately dropped the gun and grabbed the edge of the roof, his face pale. The fight had cost him. I could see blood seeping through his shirt. You tore your stitches, I said, rushing to him. I'm fine. We need to move. But his legs gave out. I caught him as best I could, lowering him to the roof surface. His shirt was soaked with blood. We need an ambulance. No hospitals. They'll find us there. He gripped my hand. Call Morrison. Safe house. Now. I made the call with shaking fingers. Morrison promised 15 minutes. They felt like hours. Raphael leaned against me, his breathing labored. I'm sorry. Can't seem to stop bleeding around you. Don't joke. This isn't funny. Little bit funny. He coughed, wincing. Wanted to give you a quiet life. Keep giving you violence instead. You gave me your life. Twice now. That's more than enough. His hand found my face, thumb brushing my cheek. After tomorrow it's done. New names. New life. No more looking over shoulders. I promise. You can't promise that. Watch me. His eyes locked on mine with fierce determination. I've spent 15 years in the darkness, Annie. Hurting people. Building empires on fear. But you're my light. My way out. And I will burn down anyone and anything that threatens our future. That's not a promise. That's a fact. The intensity in his voice, the absolute conviction, sent shivers through me. I love you, I whispered. Love you more. Love you enough to become someone worthy of you. FBI vehicles arrived 12 minutes later. Agents swarmed the roof. Paramedics treated Raphael's reopened wound. Morrison looked furious. This is exactly why we wanted you in protective custody immediately, he snapped. Can't change the past, Raphael said, echoing my earlier words. Only move forward. Morrison sighed. The safe house is compromised if Moretti's people are actively hunting. We're moving you tonight instead of tomorrow. 1 hour to collect essentials. Then you disappear for good. 1 hour to end our old lives. We picked up Danny from the FBI facility where he'd been staying, grabbed our pre-packed bags, said silent goodbyes to a city that held both nightmares and the beginning of our love story. In the SUV heading to the airport, Raphael held my hand, his other arm around Danny. You ready for this? He asked us both. Ready to be David Vance, mediocre student. Danny grinned. Born ready. Ready to be Sarah Vance, nobody special? I added. Raphael smiled. Being nobody special with you sounds like the best life I could imagine. As the city lights faded behind us, I realized something profound. Raphael had lost his empire, his power, his very identity. But he'd found something infinitely more valuable. Purpose, redemption, love. The man who'd been forged in violence was choosing peace. The boss who'd commanded through fear was learning to lead through love. And the broken parts of both of us were becoming whole together. Tomorrow we'd be the Vances. Ordinary people in an ordinary town. But tonight, for these last few hours, we were still Raphael and Annie. The Mafia boss and the waitress. The man who'd been saved by the woman brave enough to see his humanity. And that story, our story, would live forever in our hearts even as our names changed. Some transformations require losing everything. We'd lost it all. And gained the whole world. 6 months later, Maplewood, Oregon. Michael Vance stood in front of 25 high school students, teaching them about classic literature. His students had no idea the man explaining Romeo and Juliet had once commanded a criminal empire. I watched from the classroom doorway, my heart swelling with pride. This was who Raphael was meant to be. Patient, inspiring. But after class, he found me waiting and smiled that smile reserved only for me. How'd I do, Sarah Vance? He asked, using my new name easily now. Perfect, as always. I kissed him softly. Danny's waiting at home. He got his job offer today. The tech company. Yes, full-time. Benefits. Everything. Joy lit Raphael's face. We'd built this life from nothing. Small house. Honest work. Normal problems like grocery shopping and lawn care. It was everything. That evening, the three of us celebrated Danny's new job with homemade dinner and terrible cake I'd attempted to bake. We laughed until our sides hurt. We were happy. We were free. Then the doorbell rang. Raphael's entire body went tense. Old instincts. We never got unexpected visitors. "Stay here," he said quietly, moving toward the door. Through the peephole, then he went completely still. When he opened the door, I understood why. Agent Morrison stood there. And behind him, a thin man in an expensive suit I didn't recognize. "Michael, we need to talk," Morrison said, using Raphael's new name deliberately. We sat in the living room, tension thick. The thin man studied Raphael with sharp, intelligent eyes. "My name is Anthony Moretti," he said. "Luca Moretti was my brother." Ice flooded my veins. Moretti. The man who'd sent assassins after us. Raphael's hand found mine under the table, squeezing gently. Reassuring. "I'm sorry for your loss," Raphael said carefully. "But Michael Vance can't help you with whatever business you have with Raphael Dario. Drop the act. I know who you are." Anthony leaned forward. "My brother died 3 weeks ago. Heart attack. Before he died, he told me about you. About what you did. How you destroyed the families from the inside. If you're here for revenge, I'm here because my brother was wrong." Anthony's words hung in the air. He died bitter and alone, clinging to an empire built on blood. And I realized I didn't want that life. None of us should want that life. Raphael's grip on my hand tightened. "I don't understand," he said. "You got out. You walked away. You chose something different." Anthony pulled out a folder. "There are 12 men, former associates, who want the same thing. Way out. New life. But they don't know how. They don't have FBI connections or the courage you had." He slid the folder to Raphael. "I'm asking for help. Not as criminals. As men trying to be better. You proved it's possible. Show us how." Raphael opened the folder slowly. Photos of men I vaguely recognized from his old life. Their stories, families, reasons for wanting out. "Why would I do this?" Raphael asked quietly. "Because you know what it's like to be trapped in that darkness. And because helping them means dismantling what's left of the old organizations piece by piece. Not through violence. Through redemption." Raphael looked at Morrison. "This is legitimate." "Completely. We vetted everyone in that folder. They're genuine. And honestly, having someone who understands their world guide them out would be invaluable." Morrison paused. "This is entirely your choice, Michael. No pressure from us." Raphael closed the folder and looked at me. I saw the question in his eyes. This was our quiet life. A fresh start. Taking this on meant risk. Meant touching his old world again. But it also meant saving people the way he'd been saved. "What do you think?" he asked me softly. "I think you became a teacher because you wanted to help people learn and grow," I said. "This is just teaching a different kind of lesson. The most important one. How to choose light over darkness." His eyes softened with love. "You're sure? We didn't survive everything we survived just to hide. We survived to make a difference." Raphael turned back to Anthony. "I'll help. But there are conditions. This is done legally. Completely legally. Anyone who can't commit to that is out. No halfway measures." "Agreed. And my family stays protected. Always. You have my word." Raphael nodded slowly. "Then let's give these men their lives back." Over the next 3 months, Raphael worked with the FBI and the 12 men who wanted out. He met with them individually, shared his story, showed them the peace he'd found in ordinary life. One by one they took plea deals, testified, cooperated, dismantled the remaining criminal networks from the inside. It was dangerous work. There were threats, close calls, moments I feared we'd lose everything again. But Raphael was different now. He didn't fight with violence. He fought with truth, with example, with the living proof that change was possible. And it worked. By month 4, all 12 men were in witness protection programs. Starting fresh. Building new lives. The old families collapsed entirely. Not through bloodshed but through exodus. Men choosing freedom over power. Raphael came home one evening and pulled me into his arms, burying his face in my hair. "It's done," he whispered. "Really done. The FBI confirmed. Every major organization in the region is dissolved. It's over." I held him tight, feeling the tension drain from his body. "You did it. You really did it. We did it. None of this happens without you. Without your belief that I could be better." He pulled back and dropped to one knee. My breath caught. "Annie Jason, Sarah Vance, whatever name we're using," he said with a soft smile, pulling out a simple ring. "You saved my life in every way a person can be saved. You saw humanity in a monster. You chose love over fear. And you gave me a future worth living. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down my face. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." He slid the ring on my finger and kissed me with a tenderness that still made my heart race after all these months. Danny cheered from the kitchen doorway where he'd been watching. "Finally. I was wondering when you'd ask her." We laughed, the three of us coming together in a hug, a family forged not by blood but by choice and sacrifice and love. That night, lying in Raphael's arms, I thought about how far we'd come. From a poisoned meal to a proposal. From a mafia boss and a waitress to Michael and Sarah Vance. Ordinary people building an extraordinary love. From darkness to light. "What are you thinking?" Raphael murmured against my hair. "That I'd do it all again. Every terrifying moment. Because it led me to you. Even the part where you tried to kill me. Especially that part. Best worst decision I ever made." He laughed, the sound rich and free. "Love you, Annie. Love you, Raphael." We'd stopped using our real names months ago. But in private, in moments like this, we remembered who we'd been. Not to cling to the past, but to honor how far we'd come. The mafia boss who chose redemption. The waitress who chose courage. Together we changed everything. And our story was just beginning. 1 year later. The small chapel in Maplewood was filled with people who knew us as Michael and Sarah Vance. Fellow teachers. Danny's co-workers. Neighbors who'd become friends. Normal people living normal lives. Agent Morrison sat in the back, a quiet guardian watching over the new life he'd helped create. I wore a simple white dress. Nothing fancy. Nothing that cost a fortune. Just something that made Raphael's eyes light up when I walked down the aisle toward him. Danny stood beside Raphael as best man, proud and healthy and thriving in ways I'd once thought impossible. Raphael looked handsome in a gray suit. His dark eyes locked on mine with an intensity that still made my knees weak. When I reached him, he took my hands and whispered, "Most beautiful thing I've ever seen." The ceremony was simple, traditional, perfect. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Raphael cupped my face gently and kissed me like I was his entire world. 'Cause I was. And he was mine. At the small reception in our backyard, Danny gave a toast that made everyone laugh and cry. "My sister has spent her whole life taking care of me," he said. "And I watched her forget to take care of herself. Until she met Michael. He taught her that love doesn't mean sacrificing yourself. Means building each other up. And watching them together I learned what real love looks like. So here's to Michael and Sarah. May you have a lifetime of ordinary, beautiful days." We danced under string lights as the sun set. Raphael held me close, swaying gently to soft music. "Happy?" he asked. "Incredibly. You. More than I ever thought possible." He kissed my forehead. "Sometimes I wake up and can't believe this is real. That I get to have this. Have you? You earned it. Every bit of it. We earned it." He pulled back to look at me. Together. As the evening wound down and guests began leaving, Raphael and I stood in our small garden. His arms around me from behind, both of us watching the stars. "Do you ever miss it?" I asked quietly. "The power. The control. Who you were." He was quiet for a long moment. Sometimes I miss the certainty, always knowing my place in the world. But then I remember that certainty came with blood and fear and loneliness. This life, this uncertainty, this ordinary existence. It's infinitely better because it's real. It's mine. Ours. No regrets. Only one. He turned me to face him. That I didn't find you sooner. That I wasted so many years in the darkness. You found me exactly when you were supposed to. We saved each other. He smiled, that rare, genuine smile that transformed his entire face. Yeah, we did. 2 months later, I stood in a familiar place that now felt like a lifetime ago. The restaurant where I'd worked. Where everything had changed. Had new owners now. New staff. But they'd agreed to let me visit for closure. I stood where table 7 used to be, remembering that impossible night. The vial in my pocket. Terror. The moment I'd looked into Raphael's eyes and couldn't go through with murder. Strange being back here. Raphael's voice came from behind me. I turned to find him in the doorway, hands in his pockets, looking relaxed and whole. Very strange. Feels like a different person lived that night. In a way, 2 different people did. He came to stand beside me. I was so dead inside back then. Going through motions. Existing but not living. And then this brave, terrified waitress knocked a plate out of my hand and everything changed. I was so scared. You were magnificent. Are magnificent. He took my hand. You know what I think about sometimes? If you hadn't shouted, if you'd let me eat that meal, everything we have now never would have existed. Don't. I can't think about that. I just mean that one moment of courage, one choice to do the right thing even when it cost you everything, that changed both our lives. Changed a lot of lives, actually. Those 12 men and their families. They're free because you taught me that redemption was possible. I leaned into him. We taught each other. We stood there in the empty restaurant for a few more minutes, honoring what had happened here. The death of who we'd been and the birth of who we'd become. Then we walked out together into the sunlight. Life continued in its beautiful, ordinary way. Raphael taught literature and coached the debate team. I went back to school, studying social work, wanting to help people the way we'd been helped. Danny got promoted. Started dating a kind woman from his office. Talked about moving into his own place, though we assured him there was no rush. We had movie nights and Sunday dinners. We argued about whose turn it was to do dishes. We made love and made plans and made a life worth living. The scars remained. Raphael still woke sometimes from nightmares about his old life. I still flinched at unexpected knocks on the door. We both carried the weight of what we'd survived. But we carried it together. On our first anniversary, Raphael took me to the coast. We walked on the beach at sunset, hand in hand, talking about everything and nothing. I want to tell you something, he said as we sat on a piece of driftwood watching the waves. Anthony Moretti called yesterday. My body tensed. And 3 more men want out. Men from organizations in different cities. Word is spreading that there's a path to redemption. They're asking if I'll help. What did you tell him? Raphael looked at me, his dark eyes serious. That I needed to talk to my wife first. This is our life, Annie. Peace. I won't risk it without you. I thought about those men. Trapped like Raphael had been. Wanting escape but not knowing how. How long would it take? Few months maybe. Mostly phone calls and meetings with FBI. Low risk. But still touching that world. Then we do it. We keep doing it until every person who wants out has a chance. You're sure? You're Michael Vance, high school English teacher and secret guide to redemption. I'm kind of in awe of you. I kissed him softly. Let's keep changing lives. Together. His smile was radiant. Have I mentioned I love you? Once or twice. But I never get tired of hearing it. Good. Because I plan on saying it for the next 60 years. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, I rested my head on Raphael's shoulder and felt completely at peace. We'd survived an impossible love story. Violence and betrayal. loss and sacrifice. But we'd emerged on the other side stronger. Better. Oh. The Mafia boss and the waitress were gone. In their place were Michael and Sarah Vance. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things in quiet ways. Saving lives. Building futures. Loving fiercely. And somewhere out there, another person trapped in darkness was hearing about a man who'd walked away from an empire for love. Another life waiting to be changed. Another story waiting to begin. But that was for tomorrow. Tonight I had everything I needed right here. Raphael's hand in mine. The sound of waves. The promise of forever. Ready to go home? Raphael asked softly. I looked up at him, at the man who'd sacrificed everything for love. Who chose me every single day. With you. Always. Thank you so much for joining me on Annie and Raphael's incredible journey. If this story touched your heart, I'd absolutely love to hear from you in the comments below. What was your favorite moment? Did you see the twists coming? And most importantly, do you believe in second chances and the power of love to transform even the darkest hearts? Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Share this with someone who believes in love, redemption, and the courage to choose what's right even when it costs you everything. Until next time, my wonderful friends, remember that it's never too late to change your story. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'll see you in the next one.